Hello friends! Thanos' days may be numbered, so after April's Avengers Endgame, Marvel Studios will need to snap up a new big bad for its heroes to be pitted against. This week on Heat Vision Breakdown, we look ahead at the future of the MCU after the Mad Titan and make the case for why villains from Magneto to Doctor Doom to Kang the Conqueror could be the next nemesis to menace the Avengers for years to come. There are a lot of question marks about the state of the MCU following Endgame. Will Steve Rogers die? Who will play Wolverine now that Disney will have access to the XMen and Hugh Jackman has officially hung up his claws? Richard Madden? I don't know. Will Robert Downey Jr. retire and finally be able to shave his goatee? Those things get itchy. Perhaps the biggest question, however, is how Marvel Studios will top Thanos. Fortunately for Marvel, Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox comes with the rights to the Fantastic Four and X-Men, and that includes all of their villains, even Magneto, a suitable candidate for the next major villain in the MCU going forward. While Fox's X-Men series has explored the character again and again in pretty much every decade of the 20th century at this point, there's still plenty more to do with the master of magnetism. Frankly, it'd be nice to see him in a movie where he isn't just complaining about how he and his best friend Charles disagree on the future of mutant kind, an argument they've been having for literal decades. Look, at a certain point, you've got to just accept that your friend from college who constantly advocates for killing or enslaving the majority of humanity might not be the dude you want to list as your emergency contact. He's a bit of a jerk.
You'll have to kill me, Charles.
Magneto could even be used as part of an Avengers vs. X-Men movie that would adapt the 2012 comic book storyline. In that event, the Avengers are criticized for turning a blind eye to the treatment of mutants and not doing enough to help them, which is kinda odd considering a group whose members include a giant green roid monster and a kid who shoots goo out of his wrists would probably fall under the mutant tag for most folks. Anyway, it's easy to imagine Magneto as an extremist whose methods are wrong but whose grievances are right. And in certain ways, that theme has been explored with past Marvel baddies such as Black Panther's Eric Killmonger or Thanos himself. Presumably, the MCU will be a radically different place once mutants are introduced, and perhaps the Avengers won't act fast enough to help out this newly superpowered population. Probably because they're too busy eating shawarma or goofing off with Thor's hammer. Just kidding, those characters will probably die in Endgame. Perhaps Magneto could even inspire Professor X to launch the X-Men as an alternative to the Avengers, a Pepsi to Nick Fury's Coke, if you will. But okay, maybe Magneto's not your cup of tea. Well, how about Galactus? The Devourer of Worlds would certainly make a sizable threat for any gathering of heroes and has remained one of Marvel's most popular villains since his debut in 1966's Fantastic Four number 48. Considered one of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's finest creations, the character previously appeared as a giant purple cloud in Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer in 2007. Something that might have felt more at home in a Prince music video than in a big budget superhero film. It's about time we see Galactus in all of his giant, pointy-headed helmeted glory on the big screen. Galactus feeds off the energy of planets and has most often appeared in the pages of Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer. As such, he could be the kind of villain, like Loki, who serves as an antagonist in more than one film. Ant-Man co-writer and vice director Adam McKay has said he'd like to direct a Silver Surfer film. Perhaps Galactus could appear in that movie, which would see Silver Surfer rebel against him and refuse to help him devour planets. Galactus' inevitable search for a new herald would surely lead him to Earth, and into conflict with the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Eternals, who we've yet to see in the MCU. How cool would it be if an upcoming movie like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 ended with a post-credit scene of Galactus awakening in the cosmos? Pretty to vary, according to our cool meter. If Galactus is too big for you, what about Kang the Conqueror? Kang is actually the father, at least one version of him, of Fantastic Four leader Reed Richards. Kang, or Nathaniel Richards, first appeared as Rama Tut in 1963's Fantastic Four number 19, before appearing as Kang in Avengers number 8 a year later. Nathaniel discovered a time machine created by Dr. Doom and used it to travel across time, establishing himself as a pharaoh, Rama Tut, a despot in the future, Kang, and a master of time, Immortus. He's a busy guy. Over the years, he's used time travel to pit the Avengers against alternate versions of themselves, established empires throughout time and space, and even became a major cosmic player. You know, basically what Elon Musk does in his head when he gets bored during a Tesla board meeting. Kang's history gets somewhat wacky, as comic book time travel so often does, and involves a series of deaths, rebirths, and clone fakeouts. But Marvel Studios has a penchant for simplifying certain characters and concepts to make them easier to digest. Perhaps the easiest way to handle Kang would be as a scientist who gets his hands on the Time Stone after the events of Endgame and brings the time-displaced Fantastic Four back to the world, setting the stage for the next major crossover event with Kang at the center. Boom! Done. You're welcome, Feige.
Oh my god, it's Feige!
Alright, what? Okay, Feige!
Jesus.
Here's another no-brainer for the next villain, the Beyonder. Why is it a no-brainer? I'm glad you asked. The Beyonder is at the center of a story the Russo brothers have already said they'd return to Marvel to helm if given the chance. The omnipotent cosmic being orchestrated a classic comic event called the Secret Wars, and has been suggested to be the most powerful being in the universe. He's the kind of adversary who doesn't pose a physically interesting threat to Marvel's heroes, given that he could wipe them all out just by thinking about it, but he has created scenarios that have led to some of the greatest battles in the Marvel universe. In 1984's Secret Wars, the Beyonder created Battleworld. He's not great with names, and kidnapped a number of Earth's heroes and villains in order to watch a never-ending skirmish between good and evil, much like the Rasslor from that episode of Dial M for Monkey and the 90s Cartoon Network classic Dexter's Laboratory. I just really liked that episode and wanted to work in it. Though an action-heavy event, some of the more interesting moments in Secret Wars happened when characters who didn't often interact were stranded together and forced to form new alliances. This forced both heroes and villains to consider their alignment with good and evil. Characters like Magneto tried to be a hero, but the mistrust of the Avengers saw him return to villainy. Alright, we've saved the best for last, and he needs no introduction. Actually, I guess he does, otherwise you wouldn't know who I'm talking about. Of all the villains yet to appear in the MCU, Dr. Doom stands head and shoulders above the rest. While he's appeared in every Fantastic Four film adaptation, the character hasn't exactly been done justice. Let's go with that. In the comics, he's been a dictator, stolen the power cosmic, taken the powers of the Beyonder, traveled through time, and even assumed the role of God. You know, the stuff Elon Musk does in his head when he gets bored. Got you again, Musk! Outside of the comics, he's even served as the inspiration for Darth Vader. Doom offers a complexity that shouldn't be rushed. Instead, the MCU should give us a chance to see his journey from Reed Richards' friend to a villain who earned the attention of the Galactic Council. While Doom should appear in the Fantastic Four film, Marvel would be wise to hold off on a fully realized version of the character for some time and instead wait until they can reveal him as a force wholly worthy of taking on the might of Marvel's heroes. Doom can make his presence known in Doctor Strange and Black Panther sequels as Marvel steadily delves into his darkness as both magician and dictator. While a complaint with Thanos was that he was built up for too long and seemed to be doing nothing in between the time of his reveal in the Avengers and getting the Infinity Stones in Infinity War, Marvel could easily avoid this with Doom by integrating his quest for power more tightly into the films. He's also a slightly more interesting character study than his purple villainous counterpart in the sense that Dr. Doom is a man, not a towering titan who was already a formidable foe before he even got his hands on those Infinity Stones. If he's handled with care, Dr. Doom should be worth the wait. And the good news is that if he's mishandled, hey, at least we're used to it at this point. Who do you think should be the next big bad in the MCU after Thanos? Let us know in the comments right down there. Subscribe unless you're a villain. And join us here every Friday morning for new episodes of Heat Vision Breakdown. I think they should go with Elon Musk.